Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Project OZTOG. Before we start, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our previous two guests, Ronnie and Zach. It was great having you guys on. You really added to what we're trying to form here and just added so much insight into our creative panel. All right, guys, let's dive into it. This week, we've got a few topics to cover. Quick introduction. I'm Rob. Here's Chris.
I'm Chris.
And let's get into the first topic. Importance of website versus social media. Now, we touched on this last week with Zach. So I just wanted to bring this up again and cover off on it once and for all. So last week, we kind of established the website is really where the formal home of your business lives.
Yeah.
So it's your portfolio. As a photographer, it'd be your portfolio. It's how to contact you, your official contact channel. If someone wants to book you, how they would find you and book you. And social media is more of like your everyday conversation. Almost like I guess it would be almost described like a journal for the business.
Or an unofficial hangout place, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah, that's a really good, I like that, Chris. That's a really, really good way to put it. It's the unofficial hangout place of the business. So, some photographers like me have chosen to separate a personal and a business account on Instagram, for example. On Facebook, I have my own business page and have my own personal page as well. But I think that's the way to go. My website is the formal home of my business and my formal voice, where my social media channel is a bit more casual and a bit like a casual hangout. What about yourself, Chris? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think in this day and age, I think people still want to have a website where if someone says, oh, hey, can I see some of your work? You want to send them a website. You want to send them to a website rather than just sending them to your Instagram. I personally feel that if someone said to me, oh, can I see some of your work? And I said, oh, check out my Instagram, if they're on a professional level at least, it feel a bit weird for me. I think sending them, I think if you want to just show them like on the go, send them to your Instagram by all means, or pull up your Instagram on your phone. But I think if someone actually wanted to book you for something officially or wanted to see more of your official kind of best works, as it were, I think the website is definitely where it's at. I think there's a lot of high quality content on Instagram and people post a lot of high quality content, but I think it's still good to have that side main website as your sort of formal communication, especially as a business.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the website is a very much the formal home, right? I think the lines are being blurred a bit. As what Zach had said last week, he has been contacted through social media for work. So he's taken bookings directly through Instagram and Facebook and what have you. So
yeah, 100%.
I think because they have messaging apps now, it's kind of blurred that line a little bit. But I think your portfolio should still live on your website. Do you know what I mean? To me, that's still your very, 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 very best work.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is you can still. So I think especially if you've been in business for a long time, you'll have a lot of work on Instagram, and so if you want to show someone your wedding shots, for example, then you can at least go to your website and go, hey, here's my wedding album. Whereas if you're on Instagram, unless they come up with some sort of feature like that, and even so, there's still going to be just so much unnecessary images that they may not really want to see or may not need to see because they may just be purely after your wedding shots. So I think it's definitely good to have a website even in this day and age. I think more so than ever, because at least that way you're saying, hey, this is official. Whereas if an Instagram seems a bit unprofessional or seems to be unofficial, because I don't know, I think it's just because anyone can make an Instagram, whereas you actually have to have like a bit of know-how to make a website. Even if it's just paying someone to make it, you still got to have a bit of, you're updating it and you're doing all this stuff, you're putting new stuff on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Instagram thing is very, very good for showcasing images, and like I agree, there's a lot of high quality content on Instagram and social media alike. but your website is very much the best of the best. A client should be able to go to your website and know what your style is because it's reflected in the images on your style on your website.
Yeah,
And it carries
definitely.
through your profile, it carries through your kind of portfolio. Even if it's changed over time, it will still have that continuum from started here and now I'm here, and that's still kind of this style. But Instagram is just more of a kind of like social voice of what you're doing, I think.
Yeah, it's the same thing with YouTube, even and even like TikTok, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're posting your work on there, and it may be some of your best work, unless you're specifically in that kind of Instagram or YouTube or TikTok area, like you're specializing in that kind of photography or videography, I think you still definitely need that website to be able to show, show that this is your work and this is how your style is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the lines even get more blurred a bit more if you like a landscape photographer or something like that, where then Instagram becomes that kind of showcase of your work.
Mm.
And you want people to, because of the audience size you can muster from that, you want people to find that, and you really want them to go to your website to buy, so that your website becomes your e-commerce platform, and I guess Instagram becomes almost your showroom, really.
Yeah, well,
So
that's a great point. I think because with any social media, you want to have something that's you're redirecting a lot of traffic towards, right? So whether that be maybe you're pushing Instagram traffic to your website, or maybe you're pushing YouTube traffic to your website. Why? Because, like you said, it's that place selling them the product, or where you're selling them the service, or where you're consulting them, whatever it is.
yeah.
So whereas with Instagram and YouTube, obviously you can't do that. So I think definitely having a website, like you said, like I just said, it's a place where you can sort of make money or capitalize on that traffic coming through.
Yeah, I think it formalizes that interaction, to be honest with you, your website.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of social media, what do you think the biggest challenges for photographers are today? I mean, there's so much going on in the world of photography, and it's always changing. Whether that be different apps, whether that be different technology, the world is just constantly changing. What do you think are the biggest challenges for today's photographers?
Biggest challenge, I think, is actually finding clients.
Mm,
So what I mean by that is that there are so many photographers there, and there's so many people taking great photos now and showcasing their work through social media and stuff like that, that it can be difficult at times to kind of say, well, I'm in this market, this is what I do, I really want to, and you're competing with them as well.
mm.
So yeah, I think finding clients and finding work, but also kind of differentiating yourself from everyone else
Yeah, I was going to say that.
is a little harder.
How do you think it's best to sort of differentiate yourself, especially if you're a new photographer? Because obviously anyone can just go out there and pick up a camera and say, I'm a photographer now.
Yep.
I shoot weddings or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think as a photographer? What's a good way to differentiate yourself?
I don't think you have to. I think you have to do what you do and be you.
Yeah, just be
And
authentic.
yeah, just be authentic to your vision and what you want to
Yeah.
achieve with what your end goal is. If your end goal is to start shooting weddings and you're happy to do weddings at, say, $300 a pop or what have you, then that's fantastic. Start marketing for your customer and start rolling from there. However, if you want to start shooting weddings and build up to shooting $10,000 and $25,000 weddings, then your path is going to look a lot different, and the
Mm,
way you value your product's going to be a lot different.
mm,
So I think that's the biggest thing. Just be true to yourself, and don't
yeah.
worry about what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Because
It's definitely a hard thing, isn't it? Because finding clients is just so many different options out there, and instilling trust in your clients before they've even met you, it's just so hard, especially when you hear about so many dodgy stories out there. I heard about a story the other day where a photographer promised to do a pre-wedding shoot, and then he turned up and he took the shots and all that was all fine, but then I think about 2 years later they still haven't received their shots, and that's because there was some confusion about who had paid and who hadn't. So I think with those kind of stories, you hear so much. There's just so much bad press, and I know that's still only the minority of people, like the minority of photographers / people who are experiencing that. But at the same time, those kind of stories just get so much press and so many eyes across it that it's just so hard to instill that sort of trust in your clients before you've actually even talked to them.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important that you bring that up. I think one of the things I have always tried to do in my business is try to be really personal with clients and really offer a product that's really personal.
Yeah.
So
you really have to, don't you?
I think so. I think it's about that personal touch because they're buying to you as much as they're buying to what the end result's going to be and what you produce.
100%.
So it's about being able to customize your packages, about, if they want to ring up and ask you a question, having that contact with them.
Yeah.
Pre-wedding shoots are fantastic. So you get to see how they work, for example. So I really like pre-wedding shoots. I think there's a lot of value there for the client and for the photographer. So you get to work with the people before the big day, and it's like almost like a dry run for the wedding.
Yeah,
so
100%.
What's the value there?
And I think as a smaller photographer, you should be able, or even as a bigger photographer to an extent, you should still be able to find that time to have a bit of a consultation with your couple or with your client at least, so that you know that what they're going to be like to work with, but also they know what you're going to be like to work with. Because if they haven't had that much interaction with you, or if they haven't had any interaction with you, then why should they care? And why should you care for that matter? Whereas if you have a consultation with them, then at least you know, okay, this is what they're like. This is what I'm like. Do our personalities match? Do our visions match? And you can also ask a whole range of different questions as well.
Yeah, I think to me, I wouldn't take any job without a level of consultation in photography. Maybe it's because I generally love photography, and if I'm not doing it for work, I'd also do it as a hobby, for example.
Yeah.
So if I was a general manager of a company earning, $150,000 a year or whatever it would be, I would still do photography on the weekends. It's something I love.
Yeah.
It just happens to be I'm lucky enough to do it as a job as well. So what that kind of pushes you to do is each interaction to me is an opportunity to get a great experience, but also great shots. So that consultation is really part of that, and trying to find out where you both stand. Like sometimes it's a really simple consultation for like a family shoot. It probably takes 10 minutes or a couple emails backwards and forwards, and we know what each other want. I know what's important to them. They know what they're going to get in their package. We know what time we're going to meet, where we're going to shoot, and we're done. And just go wait for the shoots to kind of roll around, and we shoot, and everyone's happy. Weddings are a bit more, because I actually like to sit down and meet those clients face to face and do a pre-wedding shoot, like I said. All it is that personal touch, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. I think in this day and age, especially with so many systems that, like, for example, if you order something online, how much of a human touch do you get on it 9 times out of 10? Virtually zero, right? The only human touch is the guy delivering at the end.
That's it.
So I think having that human touch and that human connection really, really makes a difference. And like I said, whether you're a company that's done $10 in sales or $10 million in sales in the last financial year, it doesn't matter. I think everyone still wants a human touch, especially when it comes to something as personal as photography.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that's the human touch is very good. In regards to the biggest challenge, though, I think that's really is trying to find that work and trying to differentiate yourself while ignoring what everyone else is doing, if that makes sense. Yep. So the second you start trying to look at, like, it's great to look at other photographers, be inspired by them and go, I want to be where they are. But the second you look at other people and try to mimic them and go, oh, that works for photographer A, I'm going to make it work for me, you're kind of drifting off your own course. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of new photographers fall trap from what I've seen. You see so many new photographers going out there and buying up all the presets or the Lightroom presets that that various people are selling online. And I always look at it and just shake my head and I think, why are you doing this? I mean, the whole point of presets is to make your light, make your workflow quicker. But if you're just applying someone else's preset, then you just you're throwing away your own individual unique touch to the photograph or to the video, whatever it is. It just, I always just think it's so crazy that that we're so big on this whole preset, like this whole Lightroom preset sort of package as a on the community, I guess. Yeah, you know, we go on about, oh, we want to be like such and such, oh, we want to be like such and such.
I think the preset thing's interesting. I think we should come back to that in another week or so, because I think that's a really good point. Like I have some strong feelings around presets, but I also think presets had their place. But I question whether you're better off spending the amount of money you spend on a preset learning how to create your own preset is more value.
Yeah.
I think that's where the value exists, but there's a reason I think we go for presets at the start. And like I've bought presets in the past. That's where I started from, but it's kind of like, you know, maybe there's a point where you kind of stop and go, wow, I will look at how to do this myself and learn that yourself. So I think that's what, but I think we should revisit the preset thing. So I think there's some really interesting points there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's a really good, if anyone has any comments on that, please comment, especially on the preset thing and what you think the biggest challenges for photographers moving forward in the industry at the moment. Yeah, so I think there's a few: technology, video, COVID. COVID's a huge one. The world stopped for a lot of photographers.
A lot to be said about that.
It has. It's stopped for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah. But speaking of presets, so obviously YouTube and YouTube is a massive part in the photography field of dreams.
It is, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the reviews and that side of things as far as photographics and cameras go?
Yeah, okay. So this is an interesting one.
Quite a broad topic, I know.
yeah. So I really think YouTube's a really cool resource for photography.
Yes, 100%.
There are a huge number of photographers I follow on YouTube, and I watch their videos and content weekly, and it's inspiring and it's fantastic.
100%.
Tutorials and stuff like that, they're really good and teaches how to use Photoshop, and so many of them.
Very useful. Very useful.
Extremely, it's such a, like, I mean, you can learn everything off YouTube now. You play, you know, from changing a tire to cooking a baked dinner type of thing. You know what I mean? And everything in between, probably. Yeah. So there's plenty on YouTube and a lot of value YouTube. However, I think in the photography industry, there's a lot of people who kind of clickbait other photographers.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because cameras get turned out so regular. Yeah. It feels like every second or third month there's a new camera hitting the market or a leak spec or something like that. And you're getting people who put out videos without even touching the camera based on spec sheets. Cameras don't read off a spec sheet. Like, just because it says it does this and does this, it doesn't mean it necessarily works. I think the clickbait stuff and the over dramatization of kind of, you know, we know there's, I'm not going to mention any YouTubers, but we know there's heaps of them out there who do it. Like, it's, at the end of the day, a camera is a tool. If the camera doesn't do what you want it to do, just go get another tool, find another tool and use it.
Yeah. It's very easily overlooked, isn't it? That at the end of the day, it is just something we use to produce something at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head.
I can't imagine mechanics spending hours and hours and hours looking at reviews of different spinners if their spanner's not working, they'll just go buy another spanner and a different brand of spanner. Do you know what I mean? And that's fundamentally what, cameras are a huge investment, and you buy into the ecosystem of a camera manufacturer. So you are invested, and you do have you can be passionate about a brand. I 100% get that. And I'm passionate about the brand I shoot with, but it's up to each individual to make their own mind up. If you start making 100% their own decisions based on what other people do and what other people recommend and review, don't forget, YouTube's a job for these guys now as well.
Yeah.
So you have people now who need to get you to click on their video and watch it, and then rewatch it and recommend to your friends to watch it, so they make money and make their income from that. And they do better when it's outrageous, when their claims push the limit, because more people are going to go, "Oh, I have to see this. What's everyone talking about?" And you click on the video. I've done that so many times, and there's ones I hate, and I will still go back and watch it because I'm like, "Wow, this sounds really click." I'm like, "Why am I watching this?" I get halfway through and I turn it off. But
even conscious is an unconscious decision.
They've been successful because the headline is so outrageous, or the talk on the group someone in Facebook is so outrageous that you just have to click and watch it.
Yeah.
It's not true. So my advice is, they're YouTube, awesome tool, awesome resource. The camera reviews and the clickbait rubbish, it is just utter rubbish at most of the time, or a lot of the time. And camera, yes, you buy into the ecosystem. You can have passion about it, but by all means, if the spanner doesn't fit you or what you're trying to do with the spanner, go buy a different spanner.
Yeah, I think I think this kind of sums it up nicely. I heard this guy say this the other day. He basically just said there's so much information out there that if there's not information you're after, there's information that will support the thing that you're not after, if that makes sense. Basically, what he was saying is that there is so much information available that if you want a certain point proved, if you want a certain point proved, there's enough information out there to back up that point that isn't necessarily right or factually
100%.
correct.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, like you said, this is their job, and part of their job is to get people hyped about it. And so sometimes I think things get pushed out there just to be the first one on that point. So let's say, for example, Canon release a new camera tomorrow. They call it the X7 III, Canon's new X7 III. A bit of a backwards one, but let's say it has 1,000 frames in 8K, all these crazy specs. Canon could release a spec sheet saying this is probably what it's going to do, but no guarantees. I think people jump on that and they go, "Oh, they're going to do all these crazy specs. Oh, wow, look at this. This is going to be insane." And then when they release it, they're like, "Yeah, we just said it was probably going to do that. We didn't say it definitely was."
But it might do that, but doesn't mean how long it's going to do that for, right? Or if it's going to be usable. It might do it for 2 seconds. That's the thing. Awesome. But
I think the thing is it's about getting that information out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or whether it's false. It's just about getting that information out there whilst it's at the front of people's minds.
100%.
It falls, which is crap, but it seems to be the way it is these days. You hear the first thing that someone says, like, "Oh, it's fact." Instead of being like, let's see what their full information is.
I almost think it's unethical to do a review off a spec sheet, to be honest with you. I mean, okay, you can review a spec sheet. I get that. And there's a difference between reviewing a camera off a spec sheet and reviewing a camera after you've had it and used it. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's for 10 minutes and you review it after you've used it for 10 minutes. Okay, at least you've had it in your hand. But physically going, these are the specs, this camera is going to be the bomb, is really, really I'm looking at it going,
it's going to be a piece
based
of
on what?
Camera. Yeah.
It's just paper at the end of the day. Well, if it's not even paper anymore, it's probably just an email or online published document that says our camera is going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It might be for 2 seconds. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just about jumping on there and getting that clickbait and showing that they're the first ones to post about it. Whereas
It's
it may
about
not
being
necessarily
first.
be factually correct, but you're the first one to jump on it, getting
Well,
all
it's
those
just,
views.
I think it's
But
about
yeah,
being
it's about
first, and people go, oh, like you said, it's about the hype train. So people start seeing
yeah,
it filter through and go, oh, the new Canon 7 III, whatever it was, and they go, oh, someone's reviewed it. Click, and they're watching a YouTube video. It could be nothing, but
well, that's the
you've
thing.
got the click, right?
I mean, do you remember YouTube back in like 2003 where it was like very, very different sort of place to what it is today? And it'd
Yeah.
be like dancing stormtrooper for 3 hours straight. And it's literally just like a 3 hour straight video of probably 2 seconds of footage. They've just put on repeat for 3 hours. At least we
Yeah.
don't have that anymore.
No, I mean, we used to have apps on our smartphones that were like drinking a beer, right?
That's true.
So,
That's true. And let's not forget the ladder app as well.
yeah. I mean, those apps are fantastic, right? We should bring those back. They have a place.
Speak changing apps.
Pure entertainment. No
Well,
functionality, but entertaining.
that's what it is at the end of the day. It's entertainment, right?
That's it. That's exactly
It's
right.
but I think the thing is when you get it mixed, bringing back to our point, when you get it mixed with going from doing a factual review and then doing entertainment of something that is potentially real, people get the wrong idea if you're throwing the wrong information out there, or not the 100% of the information that's available.
I think that's the biggest problem with like YouTube is such a really good resource for education that people assume that's what they're going to get from point A to B when they try to start off and look for that. And sometimes I don't think everyone knows that, oh, okay, well, this person's being very helpful. Oh, they've done a camera review, click, and they take it for gospel. The biggest thing, and it's like even reading, news online, news reports and stuff like that, always read and view widely and make your own mind up at the end of the day about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if one guy says the camera is no good and someone else is saying it is good and another photographer saying it's okay, keep looking because the chances are there's going to be more reviews or speak to more people because that's what you want. You want to find out as much information. You just don't want to take someone at the face value. That'd be my best advice.
Yeah. Just my best advice would be just, try and find out as much information as possible before proceeding instead of just jumping on one person's video or two person's video 100%. And saying, oh yeah, this is what these two people say, must be true. All right. that's definitely 100% true. The end.
Yeah. Look, I think YouTube's great. If you're looking for a free resource for information and learning how to do photography and getting involved in photography, YouTube is awesome. Learn so many tutorials on there and so many great photographers who just show you how to do stuff for free and talk about everything from how to set your camera up, how to shoot, composition, how to edit as well.
Yeah.
You can get ahead on there so quickly. And that's stuff people used to have to go to college for or pay for to learn. And now it's available for free. So I think that's been really good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
With some of the camera stuff, just remember they're getting paid by click. So it's
and also some other people. And the funny thing is, like, I've also watched videos recently where, and probably increasingly more so than I have done in the past. And maybe that's a function of me knowing more. Maybe that's a function of just people getting misinformation. I'm not too sure. But I've seen an increasing number of videos where people say, oh, this camera is great. And, it works perfectly for me. And, this is why I shoot with it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not true. I'm like, is it? And I go and like search it up and I'm like, no, that's wrong. But in saying that, just on that note, what I think of it, the other thing as well, I think so much of the time people go, oh, this is the camera that this person uses, it must be right for me. And like you said, Robert, at the end of the day, it's a tool. You wouldn't recommend someone go get a spanner if their screwdriver is fixed, if their screwdriver is broken, I should say.
Yes.
Just remember that not every camera is the same, is going to work out perfectly for everyone because
100%.
each camera is different for each person's what each person wants to achieve, basically.
Okay, I think that's a really good note to wrap it up this week on, Chris. Actually,
yeah, definitely.
Cameras are a tool, and each job has. Yeah, don't be a tool is generally good life advice, but cameras are a tool, and I guess find the one that suits you and what you need it to do. It's very simple. Well, guys, look, thank you again. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe, ring the little bell for you get notifications when we do post. We do post pretty much on Thursdays between 12 or 2, and our podcasts generally go up on Saturdays. So you can find the podcast on Spotify and stuff like that. I'll put our contact details down there as well, so you can see our Instagrams and find us, our business websites and stuff like that if you want to get in contact with us that way. Or just drop us a little comment and basically a question, or if you want to get involved and come on, by all means, you're more than welcome to come on. That would be awesome.
100%.
And you can be anywhere. You don't have to be you don't have to be in Australia. You can be anywhere.
Always looking for great insights. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is a project that kind of came around because we're stuck at home with COVID or COVID restrictions at the moment in Sydney. So this panel is great, and it gives us the ability to use technology to get people from around the world in. So we'd love the people to get involved. So please do so. Chris, thank you again. It's been a good episode, and we'll catch us all next week. See you guys. Thank you. Bye.